Good evening and welcome to Posse Presents. With me again is my friend Donna Velardi. Donna, thank you for joining me tonight.
My pleasure being here.
Donna is a pet psychic / animal communicator, and we're going to have a conversation in just a couple of minutes about a pretty interesting topic. But first I want to give a couple of quick shout outs. One to a friend of mine whose birthday is today. Somebody I've known since 1986, which just makes me very old. We were like in diapers together, right?
Yeah, very young.
But anyway, happy birthday, Rob. He's clearly probably not watching because he's not even in the area, but whatever, it's the thought that counts. And one of my babies is having a birthday tomorrow. My Duke, my big boy, my heart and soul. You pegged him in one of our readings as being the old soul that I hadn't even told you about, but you picked up on him through Mojo. So Zach, let's have a look at Duke when he first came home. He was just a little guy. He was about 8 weeks old when I brought him home.
Oh, how adorable.
And that dish actually belonged to Daisy, and Duke caught my eye because he looked like my Daisy. And so it was like love at first sight, the whole bit. That became his dish, and today it still is because he towers over it. But that was him early on in 2002. And then Zach, we have Duke somewhere around the middle of his world. That was with Gidget the first day she came to live with us.
Oh, wow.
They were thick as thieves from the word go, which was a beautiful thing. She crawled right up on top of him like a little barnacle and has never left his side since. It's hilarious. But that was my handsome boy. He grew into a good 80-pounder.
Wow.
Yep. But he had feet to grow into. If you saw that picture,
Yes, he did.
He had some feet to grow into. And this morning I took a posterity picture. Zach, if we can have Duke this morning. There's my frosted face, as they call them. And again, with Gidget by his side, he was like, "Ma, seriously, you woke me up for this garbage?" Because I was comfortable. But happy birthday to Duke, because he's going to be 11 years old tomorrow.
Wow, that's awesome.
Both of my big boys are 11 this year. Bocce not until September. But Duke is my Cinco de Mayo baby. And there's a story that goes with that, and I'll tell it on Facebook. So everybody tune in to Posse Presents Facebook page for the story of why Duke is a Cinco de Mayo baby.
Very good.
So
I'll tell you one thing, he does not feel his age at all. He feels much younger than 11.
Yeah, he does. He really does. His face may be gray, and his body's a little stiff.
But his attitude is that of a much younger dog.
Yes, you are correct. He's amazing, and he's my heart and soul. You know, you have a different relationship with every pet. It's not about favorites.
Absolutely.
But you pegged him, my old soul. He is my heart and soul, and that's my boy. Anyway. Wow. On with the show. We'll take the camera back. Thank you, Zach, because you know how I love to flip through the pictures, too, at the end.
Yes.
So we're here tonight to talk about lost pets.
Yes.
Which is, something, I don't know if it's, the social media contributes to a lot of the awareness of it.
Yes.
Whether it's because there's more, a greater amount of pets missing, or because we're just more aware of it. They're out there. You see them on Facebook all the time. And it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking to follow these searches for these animals.
It is, because your child is missing.
Yeah. I mean, it's not just an animal. I hate that.
No, it's your child. It's your child. It's just the way you would feel if you lost your child at the mall.
Exactly.
And when these pets go missing, it's heartbreaking.
It is. Now, you and I were talking previous to tonight, because I always have my little prior conversation, but there's a difference between a missing pet and a lost pet.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about that.
A missing pet is a pet that they know where they are. You don't know where they are, but they know where they are, and they know how to get home. And they're just off on an adventure, and eventually they're going to go home on their own in their own time and space. And a lost pet is someone who is truly lost. They may have been chasing something, they may have gotten disoriented, and they truly don't know how to get back home. And that's the difference. And, a missing pet like I said, they're out on an adventure and they know their way home, and they eventually will go back home on their own. The problem is their concept of time and our concept of time are two very different things. You know, they could be missing 3 days and it seems like an eternity to us, and to them it's nothing. So it's nothing for a pet to be gone for a couple weeks, even maybe a month or so, before they return home on their own. But the lost pets, those are the tougher ones because they don't know how to get back home.
And they're the ones that just probably circle around and get more lost.
Right,
and
exactly, and just wander further and further away.
Right, right. Now, I mean, that makes me think of Andy, whose poster is up there. I mean, he's been gone for over a year, and led Jordina and Michael on a wild goose chase. And
Wow.
I can't imagine, you know, it's closer to a year and a half now.
Yeah.
And there are actually still sightings. And it's just amazing to think that there's an animal out there for that long, but he's probably on a mission.
Absolutely. The other thing is, you know, we underestimate our pets too. They go into survival mode when they're lost. They know how to protect themselves. They know how to find resources as far as food and water and shelter. And it's absolutely amazing. I had a situation once where in New York, there was this dog who was at the groomer being boarded, and they were walking during a thunderstorm. The dog just bolted. And unfortunately, this dog was not near home, so could not figure out how to get back home. This dog was missing for several months before there was a sighting and a successful reunion between the dog and his caregiver. And the most important thing is that the person did not give up on their pet.
Yeah, and that's something we'll touch on. But the first thing to do when you realize that your pet may be missing is to search your house.
Absolutely, especially with cats. You know, again, they go on an adventure. Sometimes they get lost in ductwork. Sometimes they get lost in the drop ceilings. Sometimes they get behind a dryer. So I remember one time, my own cat I could not find her, and there was just no way that I knew that she could have gotten out of the house. Well, there was a chair, a big oversized chair that had fabric behind and right up behind. Never thought in a million years to even check behind there, but that's where she was.
And that works, of course, for an animal that you didn't actually see get away.
Exactly.
I had a funny story about a month or so ago. I came home with, bags from the grocery store, and I'm in the house, and all of a sudden I hear this yowling outside. I'm like, what is that? I knocked the cat right out the screen door, right out the door onto the porch with the bags, and he was out there like, "Ma, what am I doing out here?"
Right, and that's an important point. That's a very important point because a lot of times we get big boxes, and sometimes our pets, our cats will jump in them, and we'll not realize it and put the box out. And we just put our cat out, not realizing. So,
Exactly.
If you do have cats, especially young ones, check your boxes in your bags before you put them out, because you never know where they're going to get in.
And just recently, my friend Allison was saying her cat was gone. She couldn't imagine where he was. He resurfaced, and it clearly looked like he was like through the walls practically in ductwork or something. But there was also a story of a family, and this was months ago. The dog was missing, and they all out search, a Facebook page, people out there, signs, this and that. I think the dog went in the closet and died.
Yes.
And they didn't realize it for, everybody was like truly tripping over themselves. No fault on the family's part, because who in God's name would expect that? This dog literally went in the closet and died, and just they were all like, somebody was here, something must have happened, the door was open, the dog must have gotten out, and it just wasn't even like that.
Right, and especially if you have a house that has a lot of things in it, they can get behind something in a space that you don't think that an animal can fit. You'd be amazed
they'll get in there
as how they'll get in there. And that's why you take a high-powered flashlight and you look into every nook and cranny of your home first. That's the first thing you do.
Now, there's a whole list of things that people should do, and one of the things that just came to mind, you're saying look in all the nooks and crannies. You're going to be calling your pet, and you're going to have that panic in your voice.
Yes, that is a huge thing. Whenever you're calling your pet knows your tone of voice. The pet can feel your vibrations. They feel your emotional state. So if you're out there and you're calling your pet and you're just calling him to come in, and they hear you, they're like, okay, you know, my caregiver's fine. Let me go in. But you know, they're out on an adventure, and then you don't see them, and you go into a panic state.
Yep.
And then you start calling them frantically.
They're going to think they're in trouble.
They're going to say, oh no, I am not going anywhere near there right now because, you know, she must be mad at me.
Yeah.
And so therefore I'm just going to stay low. Because remember, when they're out there, they're automatically in a defensive mode because they're outside. They know that they're in a different environment from when they're indoors. And they think a little bit differently. So you have to be aware of that. So when you're calling them in a panic mode, they're thinking that you're upset with them, and they're not going to come back so quickly.
So you should use like here's some treats, sweet baby, Dolly, everything's fine. You're the way you talk to them.
Absolutely. And it's easier said than done because you know, we've all been through that frantic mode. It's just, again, like losing your child at the mall.
Yeah,
where
you start that, your heart starts
panicking
to race and everything.
because you're automatically thinking of the worst possible scenario, and, you know, and your pet is like right behind the fence instead of, you know.
Yeah, slinking around like kind of like behind your back, almost like a comedy act. Like, I'm not going near that. So what else should one do? I mean, there's posters that should go up right away. Don't waste any time.
Don't waste any time. If your pet is lost, what you need to do is put those flyers up, put the posters up, and what you want to do is keep. It's great if your pet is microchipped, but if you,
and that's not a fail-safe thing. It's
no,
not
it's
GPS.
not. It's not. And maybe one day we will have that, but right now we don't. What you want to do is put on the flyers a current picture of your pet, and you want to give them last known whereabouts, and you want to put a phone number. And be careful with the phone number you put. You may want to use your cell rather than your home number, or you may even want to get a throwaway cell with a number that can be used, because you don't want just anybody having your number and knowing where you live.
True.
So, and then when you get the phone calls, meet them, because unfortunately there's a lot of people out there that may not have the best of intentions.
Yep.
So please be careful when you are, when somebody does contact you about a lost pet, especially if you're offering a reward. Be careful with that, because sometimes people will just call you just for that reason alone.
Exactly. And there's been a lot of awful things that happen with people, I have your pet, and then they try to extort, and it just gets ugly. But back to the signs for a second. You want to put them up. It's illegal to put them in mailboxes, but you can hang them on a mailbox. There's like those flyer things. You should put them in plastic page protectors turned upside down.
Very good point.
So the water doesn't get in.
And keep checking them, because sometimes people take them down. Sometimes, if it's a big gusty wind, they may get blown off. But put them up, in your neighborhood where your pet was lost, even in the next neighborhood. Just put them up. Canvass your neighborhoods. Put them in people's mailboxes. When signs are posted on a street sign, or on a tree, people are not necessarily going to get out of their car to go look at the sign and say, oh, there's a lost pet, let me go see it. But if it's in their mailbox, they're going to be more apt to take a look at it and say, oh, okay. And it's also to put also important to put down on the flyer, as if you do spot my pet, please call me night, day or night.
Yeah, don't wait hours. Call me now. And another thing is, like, if you can take a picture of the pet to show the location if you weren't sure.
Absolutely.
One of the things I like to do with the signs is I put them at stop signs, like at eye level.
Yes.
Not like way up high, but like at the level where if someone's in the car, they can see it. Like they can just look out their window and see it.
Exactly. Exactly.
But there's a lot of things that people don't take into consideration when they're looking for a pet.
Right. And the other thing is, it's hard not to get your hopes up when you do get a phone call, but sometimes there's people out there who truly want to be helpful, and you could be missing a German Shepherd and they see a Chihuahua walking on the street, and they'll call you saying, hey, I saw a missing dog. So again, be careful of that.
And that leads to, don't just call your animal control facilities, go down there, because what I say is a brown dog with black spots, you might think is a tan dog with brown spots, or you know, there's so many different ways to describe an animal.
Yes.
That mine isn't going to be the same as yours or the same as someone else's.
Absolutely.
Put your eyes on the animals.
Right. The other thing is they're so busy at the animal control places, at the shelters, that, you know, when you call up and you say, oh, you know, I lost my pet, you really do need to go down there and you need to take a look at it. You need to take a look at the pet and visit. They mean well, but sometimes they miss it. Or sometimes a pet came in when they weren't on duty and may not even be aware.
Right. You're
that there's
talking
a
to
certain
the
pet
day person, but the
Right.
night person or somebody else, or, you know,
Right.
somebody hasn't seen everybody that's there, or they may have been hiding in the back of the kennel because they were afraid. It's painful to go to a pound,
Right.
but just go do it.
Absolutely. And the other good point that you brought up is when an animal has been missing for a while, I'm talking about, you know, a couple weeks, maybe even a couple months, their fur and their coloring can change a bit.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying, you know, a white dog is going to go turn into a black dog, but what I'm saying that white dog can have shades of gray in him. The other thing is, depending on the climate and, you know, the geology of where you are. I once had a woman in Georgia who lost her cat. The cat was gone for a couple months, and she asked me if I felt that her cat was at the shelter, because she got word that her cat may be at the shelter, which was kind of far away. And she said, you know, they sent her a picture, but it didn't look like her cat. And I told her, I said, you know, I really do feel it is your cat. Please go down and actually see the cat. What happened is that she lives in a part of Georgia where they get a lot of red clay. So her cat's fur changed, and it was her cat, even though it looked different.
Just coated in.
Absolutely. And sometimes the fur gets thicker while they're out there, so it may not look like your cat, but it is your cat or your dog for that matter.
And the other thing to remember is the pounds have expiration dates. So if you wait and you don't go every day, you could get there the day after they killed your dog.
Right.
Only because it wasn't claimed, it wasn't adopted, the time was up, and there's nothing worse than, you know, that's your dog in that garbage bag right there. So definitely make the trip, do it every day. You know, you may feel like, oh, I don't want to drive those people crazy. Well, do you want your dog back? Do you want your cat back? What's more important?
And you can't put a time limit on, you know, getting my pet back, saying, okay, he's been gone a month, you know, I'm going to give up. If you look at the shelters, did you ever wonder where these pets come from? A lot of them are people's missing pets. And that's why, you know, people who gave up too soon, who, you know, just said, you know, oh, a coyote must have got him, or he must have got hit by a car, and they just give up too soon. So, you know, it's important not to give up on your pet.
Yeah, it sure is. Which leads us to what you do as an animal communicator.
Right.
What are the ways that you can help? What do you do? What have been some of your experiences in being able to reunite pets with their owners?
Okay. One of the things that I do is, you know, I have to determine whether or not the pet is still with us or has passed on. A lot of times pets will leave and they want to pass on their own, and they want to be by themselves. And that's the first thing that you do determine. The other thing is whether they're lost or missing. A lot of times I've told people, just sit tight, be patient, and your pet will return on their own. And, you know, if the situation changes, you know, we can talk at a later time. I have to tell you that when I tell people that their pet is missing, I would say a good 90% of the time their pet returns all on their own. When their pet is lost, it's, you know, it's a little more, you know, time consuming, it's a little more cumbersome. One of the things that I do is, you know, try to get a visual on the pet. What you want to do is you have to see life from the animal's perspective. So, you know, they may not say, okay, you know, I'm on such and such street, or, you know, they're not going to give you like an exact location.
For you,
exactly. But, you know, hopefully you can get a landmark. Sometimes if they're stuck in a garage or in a basement, unfortunately one basement may look like another basement, so it's a very generic description that you're getting.
You can't go door to door.
Exactly.
You know? Can I check your basement for my cat? Yeah.
Exactly. But a lot of times they will give you a landmark, especially if they're outside. The other thing is a sense, you know, different senses that they're giving you. And one of the best examples, and this is why you always have to have an open mind when you're looking for your pet or any type of communication that you're doing with an animal is, I had a woman who lost one of her barn cats. She has a farm, and she lost one of her barn cats. And I had a sense of familiar, and I kept saying to her, "Gee, your cat must be on the farm," And she got a call from a woman because you still do all the practical things as far as posting the flyers.
Sure.
And she got a call from a woman from the next town over saying, "I think I spotted your cat." This woman told me, and I was like, okay. She didn't give me the address or anything, but I went out in that area, and I had that same sense of familiar, and I said, "This cat is here." Well, what happened was I looked up at the street sign that I was on, and it's the name of the same street that this woman lived on, but in a different town. So that was my sense of familiar.
That's
and this
cool.
Yeah, it really is. And then
Who would think that way, though?
exactly, exactly. But those are the messages that you get from the animal. So what was really great is that after looking around and using a pendulum and just trying to ascertain where this cat was, this woman was reunited with her cat.
That's cool.
So, the important thing is to keep an open mind and to really explore other options and not be afraid that, that you're wrong or just
Right.
stick to one mode of thinking. You have to be, you have to really expand your thinking on it.
Oh, sure.
So, and then there's many situations where you do get a visual on the pet, and they give you the landmarks, and it's up to you to do the footwork and to bring this pet home.
Now, what about, there's a lot of these animals that are going into foster. They just came off a transport, or they just
Right.
are trying to go into foster home. Boom, they slip the leash, they slip a collar, they end up, jumping out a window when someone didn't expect it.
Right.
These are totally displaced pets.
Absolutely.
And one of the things I preach is, you're going to put a brand new collar on an animal. You got to make
Right.
sure it's adjusted. That thing's going to be stiff in the beginning. It's going to fit different once it's on them for
Right.
a while. You have to keep checking that kind of thing. But now, for a pet that's just totally out of its element.
Right. I mean, you really have to be patient. You have to be calm, and you have to really kind of, send the message that you want them to come home. You have to visualize them coming back into your yard, and you really do need to organize a good, search party to go out and check for this pet. A lot of times they'll just go into a safety mode. If they find a source that they feel safe and there's a food and water source, they're going to stick close by to that source because they don't know the area and they don't know how to get back. And again, when you do bring a new pet home from the shelter or you're fostering, it's very important that you not bring the new dog to Johnny's baseball game because you want to show off your new dog to everybody the first day that he's home.
Yeah,
You
they don't
have
know
to
they're
get-
home.
Absolutely.
You have to establish.
You have to
home.
give them a period of adjustment. You have to, they have to establish trust and security and safety. They have to feel that before they can, go off with you in the car and, just
and begin their life in earnest.
Exactly. They need that period of adjustment, and there's no set time limit, but you got to give them at least a week to really adjust into the household.
At least, yeah.
Right. Before you start introducing them to grandma and
Yeah,
grandpa
let's go
and cousin
here,
Annie.
let's go there.
Right.
Come visit is
Exactly,
fine, but you
right.
need to know that this is home based.
Absolutely.
Now, Donna, I'd like you to give your contact information. We've got a few minutes left, but I don't want us to run out before
Okay.
that. If anybody is interested in contacting Donna to find out more, you did send me a list of the things that you recommend, which, if you don't
Right.
mind, I'd like to put them on my Facebook page.
Okay, sure.
Town
Absolutely.
Posse Presents, and we'll post that up so people can get a feel for it. But if someone wanted to contact you to find out how you can help or what you do or just to talk to you, how can they reach you?
You can call me at 203-387-9738 or visit my website, Zodiapet, ZODIAPET.com. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask me.
Yeah, because you have so many suggestions and you have so much information,
Right.
and you like, you look at a picture, like you do it for me every time.
Yes.
You know, you nailed it. When you were here last time, I blindsided you with the picture of my mom and me, and you just, like, you nailed it. And I posted that on Facebook afterwards. You know, you've definitely got a connection, and I think you're pretty amazing. So I
Thank you.
appreciate
Thank
know
you.
your willingness to come back on, and of course the door here is open for you all the time.
Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate that.
So anyway, Zach, how much time do we have left?
Well, you have about a minute and 40 seconds.
A minute and 40 seconds, but who's going to be that particular, right?
Okay. Well, can I just say one other
Sure.
tools that that's used when you're locating lost pets is a pendulum. If anybody knows what a pendulum is, it's I wish I had brought one to demonstrate, but it's a object. Old timers used to use a needle and thread. It's a chain with something heavier at the bottom, and you could put it over a map of a neighborhood to try to see where your pet is, and you ask it yes no questions. And the way you would work it with a map is you place it over a street and see if it says yes and see if it says no.
See, I think stuff like that is cool.
And, you know, pendulums are used by the electromagnetic field, which have been used for centuries. Actually, people used to use them in wartime to ascertain where landmines were. And people have used it, you know, it's called dowsing, to find water sources
Right.
and everything. So it's not just, you know, something that is used in the occult. It's actually used, you know, it has scientific value as well.
In a lot more instances than you would even begin to imagine.
Yes, absolutely.
Which, you know, I think that stuff is just great. Anyway, do you remember how we say goodnight here on the show? It's okay if you don't.
I
Just
don't.
follow my lead.
I will.
We're going to say peace,
Peace,
love,
love,
and dogs.
and dogs.
Then we did it.
Very good.
Thank you again, Donna. I look forward to having you back. I know we've got a few other things we said we were going to talk about,
Yes.
and we will get to them. So thank you, everyone, for joining. And if you've got a lost pet, don't give up. We're going to say goodnight now. Thank you for joining us.